here he is. Good morning, Sir Keir Starmer.
Good morning, really good to see you.
Nice to see you. It's been just over a year since you've been Prime Minister and just over a year since you were last here. Do you remember any of that chat, particularly the bit that got on the front page of all the papers the next day?
I remember it. I think I was sitting in this chair just over a year ago. We talked about a number of things, including football, but I also said, I think you must have asked me, how are things going to change, and I said, well, the one thing I'm going to try and do is keep Friday evening free, because Vic and the kids and I always try a Friday evening, just the four of us. I think it's really important. And I think I said to you, I'm going to really try to keep that 6 o'clock slot. And then there was an onslaught where everyone said, outrageous, he won't do any work as a Prime Minister, et cetera, et cetera. It was all a bit silly, but we were in the middle of an election when lots of silly things are said. But I can report back a year on in that my attempt to keep the Friday night clear hasn't worked very well. And it's been breached more time than we've kept it. But I've tried to make up with other bits of days because we live just upstairs. So you got the office in Downing Street, and my staff around me, and then you go up 2 floors, and we've got our flat, and it takes 22 seconds to get from my office to my flat. So if the kids are in, I can pop up there, even if it's only for 10 or 15 minutes, if they come back from school. So I've tried to make up for the fact that Friday nights aren't really as I expected by making sure I see them. And that, all joking apart, that really matters to me because Vic is a complete rock, and my wife and our kids are my pride and my joy, and so I want to see them.
I imagine, that the becoming Prime Minister is always harder than even the most conscientious person thinks it's going to be. Is that something you've thought about, that kind of perspective, or what do you think?
Well, the first thing I'd say is it's a great job because you come into politics, I think whichever party people are in, they come into politics to try to make things better. I genuinely believe that. And I'd say that about, obviously, Labour Party MPs. I'd say it about Conservative Party MPs and other parties. People come because they want to try to improve lives. That's certainly why I did it. And if you're Prime Minister and you're in power, you get the chance to do those things. So, things like we've rolled out free school meals for 500,000 more children. It's a small example, but they will now get something they wouldn't otherwise have got. Or free childcare for parents and for children. So there are things you can do. And I found, because I was obviously leader of the opposition for 4 years, that is the worst job because you're auditioning to be Prime Minister. You haven't really got any power.
Easier, though.
Easier. I did say to Kemi Badenoch the other day, it is a tough job being leader of the opposition. I didn't mean that in any sort of disrespectful way to her. I said my experience was it was a really hard job. Being Prime Minister is much better. Because
you're on the pitch,
you're on the pitch. You can you can make the change that you want to change. Building houses, social and affordable housing, that people can live in, makes a massive difference to people's lives, and we've been able to roll that out. So it is better. But look, some days are tougher than others. Of course, that's life. But I wouldn't swap a single day of the year we've had in power for a day in opposition.
All right,
not for a minute.
Let's get on to the experts asking the questions now. This is kids' PMQs.
This is kids' PMQs. We had real PMQs yesterday, so I'll be a compare and contrast.
Yeah, well, we might get to that. No, we will get to that before you leave, hopefully. So the first question is from Walt, and he's my youngest son. And here we go.
How old's Walt?
He's nearly 7.
Nearly 7.
Nearly 7.
Hello, Prime Minister. My name is Walt, and my question is, do you ever get nervous when you're at work? That's my question.
Walt, this is a great question. The answer to that is not really nervous, but I think like everybody in politics, there's always a little bit of adrenaline for a big occasion. So there's no denying that for Prime Minister's question, which is every Wednesday at 12, it's a big, loud, big parliamentary moment. There's a bit of adrenaline and caffeine in your bloodstream is a sort of regular thing for me and for politicians. So on the big occasions, you have a little bit of adrenaline, but not really nerves, but more adrenaline, really.
Okay. Here's Rosie in Birmingham.
Hi Prime Minister, it's Rose in Birmingham. When you're really busy at work, what do you snack on?
What do I snack on? I snack on biscuits and black coffee. So I've got a routine. tea in the morning, black coffee during the day. But
people are obsessed with morning routines. What's your morning routine?
Morning routine is get up. This is going to sound very self-regarding. Get up. We've got a little gym in Downing Street.
What time?
6 o'clock.
Right.
So my son is 17. And he and I have built a little gym in the flat because it's quite hard to get out to gyms for reasons that are obvious. So he's got a big punch bag because he does kickboxing. We've got weights and I've got a rowing machine. So I go in there, listen to the radio. And then my job is to make tea for Vic, my wife, make tea for my daughter as she gets up. By then reading my papers for the day, so I'm going through work before I go down to the office. But it's in that little mini gym. Shower, bit of breakfast, get tea to everybody, make sure the kids are up and ready to go in time to school because they go back to their old school. So my daughter's 14, my son just 17 this week. He came down the stairs last week. It was a fantastic moment, waving his provisional driving license.
Oh my gosh! There you go. There's a moment.
And it's another chapter of life. But
do you set an alarm or not?
Yeah.
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 And are you usually asleep when the alarm goes off? Or?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I don't have trouble sleeping, which is a good thing. But the alarm seems to go off earlier and earlier every morning.
Let's have another question.
Hi, my name is Alfie, and my question is, what are the benefits of being the Prime Minister in everyday life?
Just the ability to get things done. And we're obviously taking questions from children and all the things we can do in schools. We just did schools-based nurseries this week. So these are nurseries based at schools.
I think you might mean, freebies and things like that. Because you did talk last time you said you wanted to carry on go and watch Arsenal, and then things happened, and maybe that didn't pan out as you hoped it might.
That's a difficult one. What I think I said last year was I go to Arsenal and I go in the stands. I've had a season ticket in the stands for ages, and we had a brilliant routine. Me and my son going together with other friends, meet in the pub, banter, walk to the game as a group, go in the stands, been doing it for years, love it. Obviously, all of that came to an abrupt halt, at which point I got invited into the director's box to watch, otherwise I couldn't watch at all. So that's what I do and still go with my son. But it caused a bit of a stir, but not going to football would be hard to take, and I've not got to as many games, but we had a great season.
Yeah, okay. Here's Isla now.
Hello, Prime Minister. My name is Ida and I'm 7 years old. My question is, do you have any pets? And if you do, what are their names?
Well, the pets is quite a story in our household. So, Isla, we had Jojo, our cat. We've had Jojo for a number of years. He was a rescue cat, so he came to Downing Street with us. My daughter, who didn't want to move into Downing Street, she's 14, she wanted to live in our old house in Kentish Town. And this time last year, when I was on Chris, she was saying to me that if we win the election, she's not moving. So we obviously had to work on her and persuade her. And one way we did that, Isla, was we got a Siberian kitten, a white Siberian kitten with blue eyes called Prince. So now we've got Prince in the flat as well. And I'll tell you a funny story about that, because obviously cats need to go out. We've got spiral stairs down from the flat, so that's on the 3rd floor, spiral stairs down to a door into the Downing Street garden, all good, but that door is bomb-proof, and therefore you can't put a cat flap in it. So the biggest challenge was
it's actually bomb-proof. Because we say that about a lot of things in life, but this really is bomb-proof.
We then had to, there's a little window that isn't big enough for a cat to get out of, but it's on the 1st floor. And then we had to build a sort of wooden ramp down into the garden. So there's this specially made ramp that the cats go up and down to get in and out of the garden. So that was one of the first things we had to do.
All right, let's get through some more questions if we can. Here's Max now.
Hi, my name's Max from Manchester. My question is, how long does it take to do your paperwork every single day altogether?
A long time, Max. So what I do is in the morning, once I've got up, been to the gym, got breakfast, is I start on the paperwork about 7 o'clock in the morning. And then when I get home in the evening, get back up to the flat, spend a bit of time with Vic and the kids. But then by about 9:30, 10 o'clock, I've got another set of papers delivered, which I then got to get through for another hour or two. So And that's in addition to obviously being at work all day long. So there's there's a lot of sort of extra stuff in the margins in the mornings, late at night. That's the same for all of the cabinet, all ministers. But it often means 11 at night I'm sitting on my sofa going through papers, either for the next day or longer term papers. So there's a lot of reading in the job. And the downside of that is I never really get to read a book, because if you've been reading from early in the morning, working all day, then reading again till 11 o'clock at night or 11:30, then what you don't really want to do is read anymore. You just want to turn off from reading. And I'm not reading books in the way I used to, but I am reading a lot of papers.
They also say, don't they, as the day goes on, we should make fewer decisions because we get worse at making decisions as the day goes on, and that's sort of a neurological thing. Do you try and stay away from decisions later on in the day? Yeah,
what I do there is, if I look through the papers I've got to read, let's say I've started again at 9:30 at night, if there's something I think that just needs a bit more time, I'll put it to one side. And that's one of the ones I pick up at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning and have another look at then, because I think you're probably a bit fresher then. Yeah. So sometimes divide them out in that way.
Got it. All right, Milo's here next.
Hi, I'm Milo Dawes. I'm 10 years old and I'm from Wimbledon. I've got a question for you. When did you decide you wanted to be Prime Minister?
When did I say... Well... Actually, Milo, very late. I didn't even decide I wanted to go into politics until 2015. I was a lawyer for many years and then chief prosecutor in England and Wales, bringing all the cases to court in our Magistrates' Court and Crown Court. Then came into politics. Even then, I didn't think I wanted to be Prime Minister. So it was only really after we lost in 2019. So... that election. Then 2020, I became leader of the Labour Party, which is only 5 years ago. And that's when I took the decision I wanted to be Prime Minister. Obviously, then it took 4 years before we got the chance for a general election. But I'm not, to be honest, one of these people that... when I was growing up or anything like that, ever thought that I particularly wanted to go into politics. My mum and dad said, go and be a lawyer, which I loved. But it wasn't till very late on that I decided I did want to be Prime Minister. Other people are different. They will say, even at school, I want to go into politics, I want to be Prime Minister. That wasn't me.
All right, we've got time for 3 more questions. Here we go.
Hello, my name is Hannah. And what's it like running the country?
What's it like running the country? Yeah. It is a real privilege.
But what's it like, though?
It's incredible because if you think about Downing Street, it is a source of power, and decisions can get made that will change what happens in the country. And that is, if you came into politics to change things, that is a great thing. It's also... Downing Street, that front door is probably the most famous front door in the world, and people want to come to Downing Street. So I have a lot of people in to Downing Street, and they love being in the building. We have receptions in the garden, and to have people into the place and to show them what it's like to be in Downing Street is fantastic. You'll have to come sometime. Maybe bring these children who are asking their questions as a group.
I think you should do it once a month. I think you should do kids PMQs once a month, and I think every Prime Minister forever should have to do kids PMQs. It would be a good thing to do. At least once a term, maybe. But maybe go around the country and do it.
But we should do that. But get people in. We had along the way, when you're in politics, you meet people. Usually around the country when I'm going around, people who've run campaigns, changed lives, public servants, that sort of thing. And I met loads of them during the campaign last year and made various commitments and promises to them. We had them all back in earlier this week, gathered them all up from around the country. Not great celebrity superstars, but the men and women that had influenced me.
The real superstars
into the back garden at Downing Street, so I could say thank you to them and ask them to keep pressing me on the issues that we were committed to.
And also, the kids aren't biased. They're not partisan, left or right. Ricky Gervais said in a recent interview, he was asked about jokes and politics, and he said, I don't really worry about what's left, right. He said he thinks that's a meaningless phrase nowadays, the left and right of politics. Without getting too political, do you recognise what he's saying there?
I think it's much less of a distinction in a sense that used to be. There used to be sort of, this is left and this is right. I think it's broken into a slightly different place now, and I think it's Politics is about understanding why people have low trust, disaffected, and being prepared to sort of break down the barriers that stand in their way. Now, obviously I'm the Labour Party. We come at that with Labour values. But I think the old traditional left-right doesn't stand up in quite the same way as it used to for many years.
Okay, a couple of questions left. Here we go. William from Tunbridge.
Hello, good morning, Prime Minister. I'm William Royal. I'm from Tunbridge. Who's your favourite Arsenal player?
My favourite Arsenal player is Saka. Of course, like all Arsenal fans. Although I will put in a big shout for Odegaard and Declan Rice. And Declan Rice in the second half of the season, in the Real game in particular, was absolutely outstanding. And so Saka, of course, because of the current players, Thierry Henry is my all-time Arsenal favourite player. Saka now, but Odegaard I just think is a brilliant captain. And also, as I say, Declan Rice has been a really phenomenal.
We're getting wound up, so we're not getting wound up, but we're getting wound up.
I thought it was quite calm.
All right, so one more question from Boo. This is my daughter.
How old, Boo?
Same as Walt. So she's 12 years.
Oh,
sorry, no, she's 12 minutes older. So here we go. Here's Boo's question.
Hello, Prime Minister. My name is Boo, and my question is, do you think there will be less danger in the world if more girls are in charge? That is my question.
I think we should have more girls in charge. And Boo, this is a great question, because yesterday all of the women in politics in the House of Commons were given sashes to celebrate the fact that we've got more women MPs in all parties now than we've ever had. And in the Labour Party, we've got a record number of women, and I've got incredibly good and powerful women around the cabinet table with me, and we are better for it. And we need to make sure that we go further in relation to getting even more women into Parliament.
Well, now you've talked about that, I must ask you about the front page of the papers today. So your Chancellor was clearly in tears yesterday in PMQs. And, in my experience, your experience, all of our experience, tears can come from different places emotionally. So they can come from just simple sadness, they can come from stress, they can come from hurt. I find that a lot of the people that I respect most and have learnt most from often brought to tears when they are frustrated or they're angry. Do you know, and if you don't know, what is your best guess of the source of those tears yesterday?
Well, I'm not going to speak for Rachel. I've obviously talked to her, and it was a personal matter. And given it's a personal matter, it's not for me then to breach Rachel's privacy on it. It's got actually, contrary to what people may think, nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with the ups and downs of this week, or her relationship with anybody in the Labour Party. Purely personal. For that reason, I'm not going to go into it. What I would say is, and you'll understand this, in politics you're on show the whole time. There's no hiding place. But we are humans in the end, and sometimes personal things are obviously on our minds. And in this case, that was the situation. But what I would say is she is an excellent Chancellor. She will be Chancellor for a very long time to come, into the next election and beyond it. And she and I are absolutely committed to our fiscal rules and the economic stability that is so important for this country. And that is the rock on which we build everything else. And on that issue, Rachel and I are in lockstep and have been for years. I mean, we were working together in opposition very, very closely, working in government together. She's a great colleague. She's a friend of mine. And I'll be working with her for a very long time to come. But, like all human beings, we're also personal. There are moments that, catch us off guard. And if you're in front of a camera for large periods of your life, unfortunately, that can be caught on camera. In a way, if it had been anybody else at work, it would have not really been noticed. I actually personally didn't even appreciate it was happening in the chamber, because I came in and I've got questions being fired at me in PMQs, and so I'm sort of constantly up at the dispatch box and down. But I think we just need to be clear. It's a personal matter, and I'm not going to breach Rachel's privacy by going into what's a personal matter for her.
How is she today?
She's fine. She's good. As I said, I had a long chat with her last night. She's very resilient and strong, is Rachel. She's driven through lots of change in the Labour Party. We had to change the Labour Party, fought an election together, and I've seen her resilience firsthand. I admire it. She's a really powerful woman, and she's also very widely respected. And I think the sort of messages of concern that have come in over the last 24 hours or so show the great affection and respect in which she is held. And people are held in respect for a reason, and that's because people know they're very good at what they're doing.
Will you come back in a year's time?
I will come back in a year's time.
And what do we think about kids' PMQs?
I think it's very good. You're right, we should do it more often. It's not quite as shouty as the real PMQs, but
hopefully equally
some
as
of the
profound,
questions,
if not more so.
I'll see what I can do at PMQs to get a bit of space for this. Thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you so much.
Virgin Radio.